Wait,
That's never
that was
happened to me. I
really
got to
funny.
tell you, that was funny. I was going, wow.
Uh, and I thought you were already cut off when he jumped in. I was like, oh, did he just like hang up on my man? I was about to.
Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we're interviewing rapper Shwayze. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you? How about yourself?
Good. You on the West Coast or you're the East Coast right now?
West Coast.
Oof, early. I listened to your new song. I've listened to a bunch of new songs of yours, but I like it because it talks about making mistakes, and I like when a song has a lesson.
Absolutely. Sorry, which song are you talking about right now?
Smoke Too Soon.
Oh, nice.
You know, I think about that, and I love the reggae. I grew up with Bob Marley and everything else. I grew up in Miami. There was a great reggae scene there, and I love when a rapper embraces that type of music because it just has so much history and politics and lessons to be learned by it.
So much, man. And even, yes, topically, and then even musically, there's something about like the reggae beat that it's infectious. Like you have to move your hips, you have to move your head, you have to like vibe. It's just like such a incredible vibe. So I there's definitely Cali reggae influences in it, but I was gonna say I can't call myself a reggae artist because that's reserved for the Jamaicans, that's reserved for Bob Marley, you know what I'm saying? But there's definitely some influence in these songs, and like Smoke Too Soon, especially that little beat when that guitar comes in and Wiz comes and blesses the track too. Yeah, man, I'm glad you like it. This album has a lot of that. It has a lot of melding all the different influences that I had growing up. From I'm a beach kid. I grew up in Malibu, so that there's some rock influences there. There's some hip hop, and there's obviously some reggae stuff. So just like kind of combining it all together into one smorgasbord.
I mean, obviously you were influenced growing up by, I'm sure you burned out the Legends album a bunch of times. I mean, is that really where you wanted to go from?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just so amazed by that because, it's so hard to get people into, the original sound. And I think that you do influence people to go to reggae music, to go back to see who were the influences of yourself. I mean, do people contact you and go, thank you for getting me into this? It would be something I never would have really even thought of.
All the time. And, that's kind of like the fuel behind the fire because sometimes as artists, we get too in our head about the creation or, maybe I can just speak for myself. Like sometimes you just get in your head as an artist. And then when I hear people saying like, yo, you got me into this type of music or this music helped me get out of the roughest part of my life or I lost someone and your music was the thing that brought us together. And when I play it, like I think of our times together. It's just all these things are so inspiring and such a fuel to keep on making music, for me. And, it is such a healer music, like it's healing for me when I'm making it and I'm creating it and I'm just like having that time to get away and just put everything on it. And it's healing for the person that's receiving it too. So once I really tapped into that, because when I first started making music, it was for fun. It was just for fun. It's something that I loved and it was a passion. And then once I understood the healing properties of it, it just made it that much more special to me.
When I listen to certain music, because I've listened to your early stuff, whether it be Corona Lime or Buzzin', and there is clearly growth when you listen to that and you're going, wow, it's a night and day difference from something. It doesn't mean the music is better or worse. It just shows, I guess a desire to make the music more important.
Absolutely, man. Thank you very much for noticing that. That means the world. I think that we grow and we go through experiences. And even when I made my first album, I was always thinking because I think I made my first album when I was like 19, and I would always think to myself, I'm like, dang, like I need to get like more experiences and like and so I could put it more into the music, and that's just kind of what happened organically. Like it's been 8 albums later, and I'm still doing it. I'm still very passionate about it. It to me, this album, even though it's my 8th album, it honestly feels like it's still my first one. Like someone had to remind me it's number 8 because like as much as I'm putting into it and attention, the detail as I'm putting into it, it just feels like it's my first one, honestly. But just really stoked to still be here and having people still listening to the music after all these years.
It's interesting you say that because, I host a show. I'm an attorney. I write comic books. I do stand up, but I read my original comic books and compared to my last graphic novel, and it's really hard for me because I go, wow, I just didn't know the deal back then. I felt so immature when I wrote this book. I mean, do you feel that way sometimes when you listen to your old music and you go, yeah, I was shooting for something else. I don't know if I got there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But then I also look at myself because, like, look, like I was saying, as artists, we're so critical of ourselves. Like, we are literally so critical. Like, I think, and again, I'll speak for myself, but like, I'm literally my biggest critic. So yeah, I do the same thing. Like, I ran into like my old music teacher. Shout out to Mr. Bixler, Bill Bixler, Malibu High School. I ran into him a couple months ago, and it was great to see him. And it was really cool. In our high school, one of the perks of growing up in Malibu, amazing music producer by the name of David Foster donated equipment for a studio at my high school. So at my high school, there was a full recording studio, and it was in the music room. And Mr. Bixler, when I saw him recently, he was like, "Yo, I have some of the recordings that I totally forgot about," and he sent me. Because back then, also as part of the thing, so David Foster put the studio in there, and then they would make these little compilation music things of everyone that was making music at the time in the studio. He sent me 2 songs that I made in the studio that I totally had forgotten about. And you're talking about being embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh. Like even my voice sounded different. I didn't even have the rhythm down. Like the raps, they were jumbled up. Like they weren't in a timing. I hadn't found my pocket yet. But then I had to look at it and just be like, wow. I had to also be proud of that at that young Aaron. That was before Shwayze. That was just Aaron, just like, the fact that I have the drive and I was and I was trying to learn, So of course we look back at it and we're like, that's horrible. But it got us here. Just like your graphic novel, like good for you for like actually doing it. I mean, people probably told you, oh, graphic novels, who's doing that? But you still went and made that first one, which led you to where you are now. So of course there's cringy. You look back at it, you're cringing, but I also look back at it and I'm like, proud of that person.
It's amazing when you hear a story like that because, looking back at your younger self, you're wondering, I wanted a hit. I wanted a hit. I wanted to be on the radio back then, more terrestrial. Now it's streaming. How do you think the effect of you traveling the world affects your music now?
I think the realization that we're all going through the same stuff. We're all more similar than we think. Like I go everywhere, and it feels like I meet people, and it's like when you meet thousands and thousands of people all the time, it's like I start seeing similarities. Like it doesn't matter if I'm in Brazil or if I'm in Minnesota or if I'm in Florida. Like I think everyone just wants everyone wants us to be loved, to have fun. Everyone wants to be noticed. I don't know. So when I travel and I meet all my fans, it just inspires me more to make music. I just get more inspired, and that's kind of how I made this new album. I was on tour for like 8 months straight with all across the U.S. And I just had such an itch to give all these people new music after seeing their faces, meeting them, meeting everyone, like taking thousands and thousands of pictures, hearing stories. Because like when I meet people and when I do these meet and greets, or even if I meet someone in the street, I'm interested in their story. I'm interested to see like why they like my music or what brought them to my music. You know what I mean? It's never lost on me that someone like takes time and listens to my music and like wants to come up and say something to me about it. I'm still geeked out by that, and so I'm like, hey, how'd you find my music? Like what? Like and so when I hear these stories, I don't know, it's just helped me in the sense that I just know that people are listening, and a new thing that I've realized is that every song is someone's favorite song. I just noticed that because people will come up to me and be like, oh my God, this song did this. I'm like, that song? Oh my God, really? I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like that affected you in that way? I was just messing around. And so once I realized that, it's like, okay, when I'm in the studio, there's no throwaways. It's like, even if I think it's horrible, eventually I want to put it out in some way because it might be medicine for someone else.
You just said something that the effect you have on people. I mean, that was not the original reason a lot of people go into music. And now when you meet somebody who's a super fan, or let's call them a super listener, and you are such a huge moment in their world. I mean, that has to be unbelievably humbling at the same time.
So humbling. It's crazy. But you're absolutely right. Like a lot of times you're making the music for yourself. I mean, of course, there's always dreams of making it big, obviously, but you know, that's like when you step back and look at the broader thing. But when you're in it and you're actually making the art, like I'm not sitting there like I'm trying to make a hit right now. You know, I'm just sitting there trying to vibe. And so when you hear people say, like, I've heard all kinds of things, like how the music's affected them, it is extremely humbling. And then it just makes it think that like it's all bigger than you at the end of the day, because even when you're creating the music, I can't even fully take full credit for all the ideas that are just happen to be out in the universe. I'm just able to tap into it. I think we all are able to tap into the information that's flowing in the universe, and yeah, sometimes I just vibe out and I don't even know how, where the melodies came from or where the words came from. I'm just there as someone interpreting my surroundings in a way. I don't know if that's too trippy, but yeah, it is extremely humbling and also very inspiring.
There's a term called "you never want to meet your heroes." And, as a comic book writer, I got to meet Stan Lee, and that was before he passed. And that was a huge moment for me. And I was very fortunate he turned out to be just as great as I thought he was. Now, you've had the opportunity to meet a ridiculous amount of musicians and artists, who really you go, wow, that is exactly who I hoped he would be when I met him.
Okay, we're officially done, Shwayze. Was it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
I think we are. Oh, Jeff, you still talking? I'm sorry,
yes.
I jumped in. I'm into the studio.
I was going. I said that was probably the least offensive question I've ever asked. I didn't know I got the boot.
No, I'm glad we're taping. I'm sorry, I'm jumping from one studio.
I was thinking to myself, holy jeez, that was.
Bro, me too. I was also confused. I was like, wait, what happened?
Oh, my wife says I'm very rude.
I was thinking, did I just get a weird internet moment that I didn't even realize was happening?
Hey, we're out of here. I'm going to go fishing. No, hang on. I'm sorry.
Wait,
that's never happened to me. I got to tell you, that was funny. I was going, wow.
And I thought you were already cut off when he jumped in. I was like, oh, did he just like hang up on my man? I was about to.
Yeah.
Anyway. Really, really funny.
Yeah, I was just thinking in a positive way, because that question's always asked in a negative way. And I always hate that because, I like to when I meet somebody, I'm like, wow, that was really cool. That person was fantastic, and I was really afraid he wouldn't be. And in what we do for a living, when we meet celebrities and something else like that, sometimes we get smacked in the face in a way that we don't like, but did you ever, like I said, you ever meet somebody who goes, wow, that was exactly what I hoped it would be?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I know there's tons. I mean, I grew up in Malibu, so I've had a couple of run-ins with some different people over the years. But who's like a really sweet is an actress called Jane Seymour.
Yeah,
she's absolutely incredible, sweet person, and has done a lot for me over the years. Also, who's great is Lil Jon. Lil Jon is someone that is literally probably the sweetest, like the coolest guy. Lil Jon is someone like that. Who else have I met over the years? I'm sorry that I'm blanking. I'm sitting here trying to think.
It's tough sometimes because your life is so full, especially as a creator. You're always sitting there and you're in the studio and you're going, man, they're going to love this. And the hardest thing is you never know what's going to hit. And, do you think you have a sixth sense for it, or do you like going, hey, listen, I'm just hoping?
I think that I am open, but I think that like once the song is done, or if I hear a hook, I do have a good inkling if people are gonna mess with it. It's just like when you're playing basketball and you shoot the shot and like what's gonna go in before it hits the net, or like when you're in golf and you swing and you hit that thing right, and like your body just naturally brings your head up and you're seeing that hit before you just know it's a good hit. Same thing. Like with music, it's like you can never be 100% sure, but you know when it feels really good. You know.
I spent a lot of time. I used to work with a company called Jam Pack Records a long time ago, like with Diamond Girl and Debbie Deb stuff and everything. And we'd be in the studio, and it was always amazing to me how talented the producers and the artists were when they would go, okay, I think we need something else. And they would just pull an instrument out and go, hey, more acoustic guitar, let's do this. I mean, when you're in the studio, how open are you to be able to do, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, or is it just set and you're just going?
Oh yeah, I love it. When I get in the studio, I get so excited. It's hard for me to even put sentences together because I'm like thinking faster than my mouth can. But you get that? Like sometimes I get like almost stuttery because I get so excited. I'll be like breathe and be like, okay, let's just slow it down. But yeah, I absolutely love how I usually write is I find like it's like building blocks. It starts like all I need is a progression, whether it be on the keys or the guitar, and I'm already like starting to write the hook and stuff like that, and the lyrics, and that's how I get really inspired off of like just the melodies. I'm like I love melodies, and I love guitars and acoustic guitar especially. When I first started making music, at first I only wrote raps to acoustic guitar. So like I have my friend play guitar and I would only write to that. I had to like learn almost how to write on rap beats. It took like that wasn't until later. I started writing on guitars, and so that's still a big inspiration for me. Like when I hear like a dope guitar lick, I get really inspired, and then it's I surround myself with dope musicians. So I'm not that great at playing. I play enough just to write, but I'm good at making the demo, getting my ideas down, and then we kind of embellish the idea on the production.
I like, before I do an interview, I like to listen to everything somebody's done before. And I've listened to your music before, but I really started listening. I started picking up the acoustic guitar. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was going, wow, there's a lot of acoustic in here. And it felt like the original when I grew up on reggae. So I was like, oh, that's an important instrument. That was important this. And it's so important to you about this guitar. You named your son Hendrix. I mean,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. That is the most amazing thing that I can imagine going, I love this so much. I'm going to do that. And that's a fantastic name.
Yeah, exactly. I hope I didn't put too much pressure on my poor son if he ever wants to play guitar. But yeah, I just thought it was a cool name. Also, my name is Aaron Smith, and that's also my dad's name. And it's like the most generic, bland name ever. So I think even since I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to name my kid. I'm going to give my kid a cool name. No matter what it is, it's going to be a cool name. So, yeah. But yeah, I absolutely am in love with guitars. I mean, and melodies, like, so like going back to my influences, like, of course, Bob Marley, but also was a big influence for me was Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know. I just loved the Chili Peppers. I loved all the melodies. I loved the guitars on that. Like, John Frusciante. I loved when he was in the band. And, no, yeah. So it's just a big thing for me. Like melodies and ideas flow easier when I hear a guitar. I had to honestly train myself to write to other things as I started working with different producers that would give me hip hop beats because it was just like it would be drawing from a different thing for me. But yeah, it was a great challenge, and now I can write over anything. But yeah, when I first started writing, it was hard to write over beats because it was just like not as organic as the guitar, but now I love all different things, and everything that I play, like if I play piano, it'll inspire something different than if it was on a guitar or if I just started writing on a drum beat, and now I just try to draw inspiration from everything.
Well, I can't tell you how much I really enjoyed this interview, and I learned a lot too. So I hope to talk to you again, and have a great day, my friend.
Oh man, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you.